Having been inhabited since the Neolithic age, this city is considered Europe's historical capital. On Sunday, May 1st, 2011, we leave New York. Early Monday morning, we arrive in Athens, Greece. This city that constituted the cradle of Western civilization, the magical, mythical land where much of our cultural heritage was born. With its mix of antiquities and modern bustle, Athens stands as a bridge to past and a feast to any history buff. The greatest signs of ancient civilization are scattered around the capital. The Olympion, the temple of Olympian Zeus. Hadrian's Ark is the symbolic gate of the city of Athens. We now walk the promenade to the greatest sites of ancient civilizations, the most ancient theater of the world, the Theater of Dionysus. In this theater, the most famous ancient Greek poets saw premiere performances of their plays in the 5th century BC. Situated just beneath the walls of the ancient city of the Acropolis is the Odeon of Herodotus Atticus, which was built in 161 AD. This 5,000-seat theater is still a venue for concerts. Towering above all, both physically and spiritually, is the Acropolis, the ancient city of Upper Athens and womb of Western civilization, one of the wonders of the world. The Acropolis symbolizes Greece's golden age. The Erechtheum, one of antiquity's most intricate and unique temples, is divided into 2 sections, one to worship Athena, the other Poseidon. A grand entrance lies on the north side. Its most famous characteristic, Porch of the Caryatides, project from the south. The architectural masterpiece of the Acropolis was built between 447 and 438 BC, dedicated to the goddess Athena. The Parthenon, constructed to house a mammoth statue of the goddess Athena. It was built in the Doric order with friezes that depict important scenes in Greek history. Athens' Acropolis not only stands as the city's geographical apex, it symbolizes the pinnacle of Greek culture as well. You wouldn't know by its present state that Athens' ancient agora, or marketplace, which lies just below the Acropolis, was the very heart of ancient Athens. Looming over the ancient agora is the best preserved ancient Greek temple in the world. The Agora showplace was the Stoa of Attalus II, where Socrates once lectured and incited the youth of Athens to adopt his progressive ideas on mortality and morality. Today, the Museum of Agora Excavations. The city's commercial center from the 1st century BC to the 4th century AD, the Roman market. Built by Roman Emperor Hadrian in 132 AD, this library formed a colonnade with specific areas used for the storage of papyruses and books. Keramikos, the main cemetery in ancient Athens. Monastiraki Square and Flea Market is one of Athens' most popular meeting places. The square has recently been renovated, and much of it now glitters thanks to a pavement of golden mosaic pieces. In the background, one can see the Acropolis Rock. Set on the north slope of the Acropolis, Platka, also known as the neighborhood of the gods, is the oldest neighborhood of Athens. This area is now filled with restaurants and gift shops. Zappian Hall was built in 1888. In the past few years, some of the most significant events in the history of the country have taken place in the Conference and Exhibition Mansion, such as European summits, the announcement of election results, and significant political announcements. Dominating Syntagma Square or Constitution Square is the Parliament Building, which was the residence of the first king of Greece. In 1924, the government decided to situate Parliament in the building. In front of the building facing the square is the monument of the unknown soldier. The monument is guarded around the clock by two select troops called Evzons, who wear the traditional uniform. The ceremony of the changing of the guards takes place every hour on the hour. The presidential mansion is the official residence of the President of the Hellenic Republic. The mansion is guarded by Evzons, wearing a distinctive uniform. Panathenaic Stadium was built on the very site of an ancient stadium for the revived Olympic Games in 1896. The stadium that stands today has a capacity of approximately 60,000 spectators. The wise man or judge faces the track, the athlete the grandstand, of course, reserved seating for royalty. Can you imagine the cheer of the crowd as the athletes exit the tunnel onto the field? With a little imagination, you can. The Olympic Games of 2004 were played here. A trip to Athens would not be complete without viewing a strike. We climb Lycabettus Hill for a breathtaking view of the city. The summit is crowned by a whitewashed chapel with a bell tower. There is also a fine restaurant on top of the hill. We are at the highest point in the city. We view the entire city of Athens. Culture is the memory we carry it around with us, sharing it with our friends and acquaintances. This is the jewel of the city. We leave Athens. In the 16th century BC, a large volcanic eruption took place, which caused a large part of the island to sink, which created a large crater or caldera. The island is Santorini. Fiera, the capital, midway along the west coast rim, is no longer only a picturesque village, but a major tourist center. overflowing with bars, shops, and restaurants. Fiera's winding, narrow streets lead to the scenic path built into the cliffside overlooking the caldera and the Aegean Sea. Santorini is a port of call for many cruise ships. The ship will anchor off the coast and tender their passengers to Old Port, which is at water's edge. It is then the passenger's responsibility to get to the top. They have three choices: cable car, donkey, or walk the donkey trail, which is not recommended unless they plan to throw their shoes away afterwards. This is what you call big asses, or donkeys. We walk along the caldera from Fiera to Imero Vigli. Did Atlantis, the island at the center of the earth, really exist? Some scientists make a connection between Santorini and ancient Atlantis. We now rent a car to tour the island of Santorini. Until the early 1800s, Pyrgos village was the capital of the island. Today, it has only 500 inhabitants. The village is composed of traditional houses built around a Venetian castle, and the small streets follow the slope of the hill. The small village has 33 churches. Near the tip of the southern horn of the island is the town of Ekroteri. This area is known for its red beach. Harissa is a village of endless black sandy beach characterized by an enormous rock called Misavuno that rises from the sea. On the other side of the rock is the village of Kamari, which is also famous for its impressive black sandy beach. As we tour Santorini, we stop at a winery for a spectacular view of the caldera. In the late afternoon, we drive to the tip of the northern horn of the island, Ia, Santorini's second largest town and the Aegean's most photographed village. Every evening, travelers from all over the world congregate at the caldera's rim, each looking out to sea in anticipation of the performance, the Ia Sunset. Santorini truly is one of, if not the most scenic place in the world. Early the next morning, we board the superjet boat to Mykonos. Mykonos is world famous. It has become one of the most popular of the Aegean islands. Little Venice is unique and one of the most attractive area in all the islands. Its houses rise from the edge of the sea and the wooden balconies hang over the water. The capital Hora, with its colorful harbor in which little fishing boats nestle happily side by side with luxury yachts. Any visitor who has the pleasure of getting lost in the town's narrow streets will appreciate how its confusing layout was designed to foil pirates. Along the whitewashed streets stand brilliant white box-shaped houses with brightly colored balconies. These are interspersed with small but impressive churches. Petros the Pelican is the town mascot. The town's shopping streets are lined with jewelry stores, clothing boutiques, chic cafes, and candy shops. In Hora, the overall sense is of being inside a film set. Our hotel in Mykonos is the Petasso Beach Resort and Spa, situated on the Aegean Sea. Mykonos is our final destination in Greece. Touring Greece is a unique journey full of adventures and knowledge, a road where the evergreen vista of imposing mountains blend harmonically with the vast deep blue seas to portray the versatile mosaic, Greece. Founded by the Greeks as Byzantine more than 2,500 years ago, renamed Constantinople in the year 330, when Constantine the Great elected it the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, and finally called Istanbul after the Ottoman conquest in the 15th century. The city on the Bosphorus was and still is one of the most exciting places in the world. Istanbul also straddles two continents, Europe and Asia, in a secular Muslim country that is hip and cosmopolitan, where all the cultures of the ancient world meet, overlap, and blend into something unexpected. Here, or anywhere in Turkey, you will hear the call to prayer 5 times a day. The Hippodrome was a chariot racing track and the sporting and social center of Constantinople. The Serpentine Column commemorates the Greek city-state victory over the Persians. This 13th century obelisk was brought to Istanbul from its place in front of the Temple of Karnak in Luxor, Egypt. Sultan Ahmet, or Blue Mosque, it was constructed by Ahmet I during the years 1603 to 1616. It's the most important one of Istanbul's imperial mosques. When viewed from the sea, it forms the most important element of the Istanbul skyline. The building is called the Blue Mosque by foreigners because of its elegant blue and white Turkish ceramic tiles adorning its interior. Resident of the Sultans, administrative seat of the Ottoman Empire for almost 400 years, and the source of legend and life in the harem, Topkapi Palace. We view the vast and exotic world behind the Seraglio walls. imagine the Sultan strolling here, far from the cares of state and empire. Built by Mehmet the Conqueror, over the ruins of Constantine's imperial palace, Topkapi Palace occupies one of the 7 hills of the city at the tip of the historic peninsula, overlooking the sea. In the Muhammad chamber, an imam has been reciting passages from the Quran continuously for hundreds of years. Yerebatin cistern was constructed by Constantine and served as a backup water supply for periods of drought or siege. Where else in the world, for the price of a trolley ride, you can take a trip to Asia, but never leave the city? We take a ferry across the Bosphorus. Old Istanbul and most of the attractions are on the European side. The Asian side is mostly residential. We then return to Europe. Of course, the people look the same on both sides. The Egyptian Spice Bazaar is named for the exotic spices and essential grains brought into the city from Egypt. Inside is an irresistible and almost theatrical display of sights, sounds, and smells. Completed in 537, Hagia Sophia, also known as Hagia Sophia or Saint Sophia, for almost 1,000 years was a triumph of Christianity and the symbol of Byzantine, and until the 16th century maintained its status as the largest Christian church in the world, designed to surpass in grandeur, glory, and majesty every other edifice ever constructed as a monument to God. After Mehmet II conquered the city in 1453, his first official stop was to this overwhelming symbol of an empire that he had conquered, and with his head to the ground, he invoked the name Allah and declared the great house of worship a mosque. In 1935, Ataturk converted the mosque into a museum. Mosaics and icons that were previously defaced or whitewashed were rediscovered and restored. The Galata Bridge across the Golden Horn. We take a vernacular up to Taksim Square. This is the Times Square or Piccadilly Circus of Istanbul. Except here we see centuries-old domes rise above McDonald's and headscarf girls on cell phones. We are about to enter the Grand Bazaar.
We're ready to shop, and there's only one way not to get ripped off in Turkey.
The Grand Bazaar is the largest covered market in the world, with over 4,000 shops, 65 streets, 22 gates, restaurants, mosques, fountains, and tea houses within an area of 76 acres. Our visit to Istanbul was exotic, wonderful, complex, and utterly captivating, an experience that would be impossible to forget.
Here! Hey, I'm from Queens. I'm from Brooklyn.
We now join a tour group to visit the other highlights of Turkey. We motorcoach south before crossing the Dardanelles to Asia. We arrive in Çanakkale. Çanakkale is a charming port in the Dardanelles, also the gateway to the city of Troy. In the center of town, on the port city's promenade, is the model of the Trojan horse that was used in the motion picture Troy, starring Brad Pitt. After leaving Istanbul, all the sites we will visit will be in Asia. Besides part of Istanbul, only a small section of Turkey lies in Europe. Troy was made timeless by Homer in his Iliad and Odyssey. Troy is now one of the most recognizable mythological events in the world, and few can resist the chance to trot among its remains. The city of Troy was reconstructed at least 9 times. Archaeologists believe the Troy of Homer most likely took place during the existence of Troy 7, which was destroyed by fire around 1200 BC, then abandoned for over 400 years. In the ancient city of Pergamum, we visit the ancient medical center, built and named in honor of Asclepion, the god of healing. It is also the world's first psychiatric hospital. Many of the treatments employed at the Asclepion are once again finding modern applications. The Asclepion gained in prominence under the Romans in the 2nd century AD. In Ephesus, we visit the house of the Virgin Mary, where she spent her last days after migrating to Asia Minor with John. Ephesus is the best preserved and most well-known ancient city along the west coast of Turkey. Once the 2nd largest city of the Roman Empire, it is one of the finest places in the world to experience the atmosphere of Roman times. The Odeon, or small theater, functioned as a place for meetings of the council. The Coretus Way is the main thoroughfare which leads to the famous Library of Celsus. The library was built between AD 110 and 135. We leave the library and walk the Marble Way, a 5th century street paved entirely of marble. The Great Theater is a dramatic spectacle built into the slopes of Mount Pion. We walk the commercial agora and leave the ancient city. The castle and monument of St. John. After the death of Christ, St. John came with Mary to Ephesus to spread the word of Christianity. In the 6th century, a huge basilica was built to honor him. We travel to Pamukkale to visit Hierapolis, an ancient Hellenistic and Roman city famed for its sacred hot springs. Terraces were formed by running warm spring water at a temperature of 102 degrees Fahrenheit, containing calcium bicarbonate. the thermal waters have been used for therapeutic treatments since the Roman period. The treatments were not 100% successful. We visit the ancient city's necropolis. Situated on Turkey's turquoise coast, Antalya is the country's Mediterranean coast's main port city, as well as Turkey's principal holiday resort. A great place for a few days of rest and relaxation. Caravanserais were spread out along the Silk Route at a distance of about every 30 miles or 1 day's travel. These fortresses provided protection to merchants traveling along the route. Most of them have since been transformed into restaurants or other establishments. Cappadocia is a region unlike any other. Its extraordinary landscape is composed of soft volcanic stone that wind and rain have sculpted into fantastic clusters of multicolored spirals and pinnacles. What is more, the softness of the stone encouraged the medieval Christian inhabitants of the region to carve out of the rock literally hundreds of churches, monasteries, towns, and villages. An underground city of caves were built between the 6th and 10th century by the Christians to hide from possible attacks. These caves go down 8 stories into the earth and are among the marvels of medieval engineering. We visit several lookout points and valleys in the region. Trying to buy something in Turkey is always a hassle. Sculptured by the elements, whimsical fairy chimneys, some considered X-rated, dot the surreal landscape of the region. A trip to Cappadocia is a magical experience you will never forget. This evening, we visit an historical caravanserai to view a whirling dervishes ceremony. The whirling dervishes are part of Turkish custom, history, beliefs, and culture. The actual religious ceremony cannot be filmed or photographed. Situated virtually in the center of the country, Ankara was chosen by Kemal Ataturk for his new republic. The Ataturk Mausoleum draws reverent Turks from all over the country to pay their respects. Ankara will be the last place we will visit before returning to Istanbul. Over the last 4 weeks, we have visited 2 countries, Greece and Turkey, geographically close and even bordering. Their culture and customs could not be further apart. However, in both countries, we were treated like honored guests. That is why our journey to the crossroads, to where East meets West, will always be a memorable experience.